Hello again, Bat fans! In this episode we check out the confrontation between Batman and Etrigan in the storyline called Tulpa. Batman chases down a speedster in the Batmobile. He manages to stop this man, but as he grabs him to confront him, the man disintegrates into dust, leaving only a lot of money behind. The police and Batman investigate and learn that the money and the car were stolen from a rich person. Meanwhile, a man called Tenzin is waiting for someone to return. He is the owner of a Tibet shop, but his father made some illegal business with the mob, and now the gangsters are pushing Tenzin to pay them. That night, the gangsters go to Tenzin's shop, and the man promises that someone is coming with their money. However, time passes and nothing happens. The gangsters beat Tenzin and promise to return the next night. Tenzin doesn't understand what went wrong, but he immediately starts a dark, mystical ritual, and when he is finished, a doppelganger of himself appears. This creature is a Tulpa, a shadow clone created by dark energies and controlled by Tenzin's mind. Just like the previous night, Tenzin sends his Tulpa to steal the money he needs to pay them off, and this time, he sends him to Wayne Manor. The Tulpa breaks into Wayne Manor, but before he could grab the money, Alfred spots him. The Tulpa attacks Alfred, but the butler manages to put a tracker on him before he escapes. Batman is fighting crime on the streets and Alfred calls him to inform him about the situation. Thanks to the tracking device, Batman is able to follow the criminal, but when the Tulpa gets back to Tenzin empty-handed, his creator eliminates him, turning him to dust. Batman loses the signal, but he knows the general area where it was last seen. Meanwhile, Tenzin knows that the mob will be there soon, and he decides to start a darker, more sinister ritual to create the ultimate Tulpa. The ritual doesn't take long, and a great dark presence is summoned by Tenzin. The gangsters arrive to Tenzin's shop, and Batman is curious to see such notorious criminals in that place. He goes to investigate and witnesses how the gangsters threaten Tenzin for not paying them. It is then that the great black Tulpa shows up and confronts the gangsters. The six-armed monster was created by Tenzin and is fueled by his anger, hatred and violence, and it brutally attacks the gangsters. Batman goes into action, but there is nothing he can do to stop the monster. The gangsters take the opportunity to escape while the monster fights Batman. The Dark Knight tries his best to stop the monster, but in the end, he is knocked out by the dark creature. The monster starts chasing down the gangsters because that was the only reason it was created for. A few minutes later, Batman recovers and goes looking for the only person who can help him defeat the monster, Jason Blood. Jason's apartment is not far from there, but when Batman comes in asking for help, Blood refuses. He knows what kind of help Batman needs, but he doesn't want to release the demon that will defeat the monster. Batman decides he will do it alone, but Jason's blind friend, Randu, goes along with the Dark Knight. The gangsters keep running from the dark creature, and they seek police protection from the monster, but even the police can't stop the beast. Batman is their only hope, but Jason Blood knows that even Batman won't be able to save them. He knows this and the demon laughs inside of him. The great black monster continues to attack the gangsters and the cops, forcing them to seek shelter in a construction site. Batman and Randu arrive in the nick of time, and the Dark Knight gets inside the crane that controls the wrecking ball, and he swings the ball against the monster. The creature receives the full impact and is knocked out. Randu believes it's all over, and the Dark Knight claims victory. Jason Blood is relieved from his apartment as he also thinks that the threat has been eliminated. But suddenly, the monster recovers and he gets ready to attack once again. Batman and the others go down in a matter of seconds, and Jason Blood knows that everything is lost. The monster will kill them, and there is only one chance to save them. Reluctantly, Jason recites the incantation and the demon is unleashed. Etrigan, the rhyming demon, is back in action, and he goes straight towards the construction site. Upon arriving, Etrigan watches as Batman, who is weak, tired and almost defeated, continues to fight against the monster. The Dark Knight would have lost the battle, but Etrigan decides it's time to end it all. The demon gets into the battle, and thanks to his ungodly strength, he manhandles the black monster before he utterly eliminates him with a fiery blast of hellfire from the demon's mouth. The great black monster turns to ashes, and Etrigan turns his attention to the gangsters, whose souls are so black that he needs to punish them in the same way. Batman interferes, and he gets into a conflict with Etrigan. Batman's fighting experience allows him to toss Etrigan into a brick wall, but he will soon learn that he just got lucky. Etrigan was distracted, but now that he's ready to fight, he steamrolls Batman and gets on top of him, strangling the Dark Knight and ready to eliminate him. Batman starts losing his conscience, and there is absolutely no hope for the Dark Knight. Yet he continues to fight and attacks Etrigan even though his attack doesn't cause any damage. However, Batman's attack was effective because Etrigan stops for a moment and he starts laughing at the whole situation. Batman is confused, and the demon explains that he is amused because there is something within Batman that drives him and forces him to keep fighting, even when there is no hope. Etrigan sees something extremely similar between him and Batman, and after giving the Dark Knight a cheek kiss, the demon returns to Jason's apartment. There, a tormented Jason returns to his human form, and Batman comes to realize that there are some demons that never die. Demons that just burn inside. That was Tulpa, a Detective Comics storyline and the first official team-up between Batman and Etrigan. And I say official because they had already teamed up a couple of times many years before this story in the good old days of The Brave and the Bold. However, those stories are not really considered canon, so that's why I say that this one is their first official team-up. This is one of those rare occasions in which an important character in the DC universe makes an appearance in the Batman books. In fact, this would be the first time it happens since the continuity restarted after the crisis. And I think this is how team-ups should be written. Usually with this kind of team-ups, it's really hard to find a balance between making the guest character relevant without having him steal the spotlight from the protagonist, or worse, make the guest become overshadowed. In this story, Etrigan appears only in the last part of the trilogy, and while he basically saves the day, the focus remains in Batman almost always. So much so that Etrigan's presence was not only there to defeat the monster, but also to give us a clear insight to Batman's mind. The concept of this whole story was about inner demons. Etrigan is the inner demon of Jason Blood, and he recognizes that Batman also has inner demons that he allows to take over him. In Batman's case, his inner demon is his obsession for fighting crime and saving lives. Etrigan realizes this and laughs at Batman's misfortune for having a tormented side within him, just like Jason Blood does. That just goes to show how much Alan Grant understands Batman, and I guess he did an outstanding job with Etrigan too, because just a couple of years later, he became the main writer for the third series of The Demon. Although the supernatural elements are often good in Batman stories, in this one it kind of fell flat. The concept of the Tulpas was fine, but it just doesn't work well with the Dark Knight or the great detective that Batman should be. It makes Batman feel out of place. And that was like the perfect segue for writer Alan Grant to introduce Etrigan into the story. So it kinda works out in the end. And before ending this episode, I can't pass the chance to praise Norm Brayfogle for his amazing art. We already know he is one of the best Batman artists around, but in this story he also proved that he can do an amazing Etrigan. The splash pages and action scenes with the demon were impressive, and his exaggerated and sharp art style fits the character really well. All in all, the creative team of Alan Grant and Norm Brayfogle in Detective Comics was absolutely great, and they were just getting started. And the next thing they did was the creation of the ultimate Clayface. And that's exactly what's going to happen in the next episode. So if you don't want to miss that, subscribe now and come back for Mod Pack. Until then, Godspeed, my friends.